There's a quiet power in absence. In the spaces left behind, in the silence that follows a departure, emotions ripple where words cannot reach. Loss is not always loud, it often whispers. And within that whisper lies a subtle force, a reflection, a questioning, a longing. The mind, unspoken yet relentless, revisits moments, gestures, and smiles that once seemed ordinary. And in that reflection, the seed of regret quietly grows, unnoticed until it blooms in the stillness. Some things cannot be forced, cannot be spoken. They exist only in the echo of what is missing. There's a peculiar awareness that emerges in the quiet moments after someone is gone. It is not the loud, urgent ache of confrontation, nor the clamoring of anger or argument. It is something softer, yet more persistent. A subtle gravity that lingers where presence once existed. The mind does not simply forget, it searches. It recalls the small details, the tilt of a smile, the cadence of a laugh, the weight of shared silences. These fragments, ordinary when present, become extraordinary in absence. They form a silent architecture of memory, shaping thought without demand. The invisible pull is not coercive. It does not announce itself with drama or force. It thrives in subtleties. The way a familiar song suddenly evokes remembrance, the way a once overlooked phrase resurfaces with new meaning, the way a glance at a quiet street corner brings a flood of recollection. It is an emotional gravity that grows not from words spoken, but from what is left unsaid, unsent, untouched. In those unremarkable moments, the human heart begins its slow, unnoticeable counting of loss. And yet this pull is more than nostalgia. It is an instinctual curiosity, a natural orientation of the psyche toward what was once valuable. The mind fills in gaps, projects possibilities, and lingers on what might have been. Each reflection, each remembered detail becomes a subtle message, a reminder of absence, a whisper of void. This is the silent power of leaving, the creation of an unspoken mirror. In it, the other sees fragments of their own choices, their own inattention, their own fading priorities. There's also a paradox here. The less one pushes, the more this invisible pull strengthens. No explanations, no confrontations, no attempts to provoke reaction. Only the steady, quiet presence of absence. Time itself becomes an accomplice, deepening reflection. The human mind, left to wander, begins to notice patterns it had previously ignored. The mind begins to weigh the intangible, missed laughter, unnoticed gestures, forgotten words. And within this quiet reckoning, regret germinates, soft and almost imperceptible, yet resilient in its persistence. Absence in its most elegant form does not force recognition. It allows for reflection. It does not demand attention. It invites thought. And in the gentle, unspoken gravity of this pull, the emotional seeds are planted. They wait, not in haste, but in quiet patience until the other can no longer ignore the echoes of what's been lost. The heart remembers in ways the mind cannot always explain. Longing has roots deeper than memory, reaching into the architecture of attachment itself. It begins quietly, often unnoticed, in the very moments that once seemed ordinary. The human psyche forms patterns of significance around those we allow close, embedding subtle markers of connection. The comfort of shared routines, the instinctive attention to small details, the unspoken understanding that passes between two people. When these markers are disrupted, when absence enters the familiar rhythm, the mind experiences a peculiar unease. It searches not for closure, but for continuity, and in the search, longing grows. Loss awakens what psychologists call the endowment effect, the tendency to overvalue what is no longer within reach. A gesture once ignored, a word once dismissed, becomes treasured in retrospect. Memory reshapes reality. The ordinary transforms into the precious. This is not mere sentimentality. It is an evolutionary echo, a mechanism designed to preserve what has nurtured us, to make us attentive to relationships that sustain emotional and social survival. And yet, when these relationships slip away, the very mind that once anchored comfort now churns reflection into subtle ache. Longing also emerges from contrast. The absence of someone familiar magnifies what was once mundane. The quiet corners of a home, once unnoticed, are now spaces pregnant with memory. Everyday objects, a cup, a chair, the corner of a worn-out book, take on unexpected significance. This magnification is not a trick of nostalgia alone. It is the mind's way of reconciling what it cannot reclaim. The psychological dissonance between presence and absence creates a fertile ground for introspection. One begins to notice what went unappreciated, what was taken for granted, and what remains irretrievably lost. There is a tension here, an inner friction that is quietly compelling. The self struggles between the urge to move forward and the pull of lingering attachment. The heart remembers what the mind attempts to rationalize. Desire persists even as logic questions its necessity. Regret emerges in this interplay, subtle yet persistent, not as a judgment but as a reflection of what was valued too late, understood too slowly. It is a slow, inward recognition of emotional investment and a realization that the absence now allows clarity that presence once obscured. In understanding these roots, one begins to see why regret can feel inevitable. It is not a manipulation or a strategy, it is the natural psychology of attachment. Absence combined with reflection allows longing to surface, and in that space a quiet transformation occurs. The other is left to reckon, not with confrontation, but with the enduring weight of what they have let go. Silence has a subtle power. It is not empty. It is full of unspoken observation, of thoughts given space to breathe. When words are withheld, the mind begins to fill the quiet with meaning, with reflection, with awareness. The absence of confrontation allows for introspection. The other, left to wander through memories and impressions, begins to trace the contours of connection and loss. It is in this quiet that understanding takes shape, not forced, not demanded, but discovered slowly, as one might notice the shifting light through a window. Time in its deliberate unfolding becomes an ally to reflection. Each passing day offers fragments, glimpses of what has been, what remains unspoken, and what could have been cherished. Human psychology is particularly attuned to gaps, to contrast between presence and absence. The mind seeks closure even when none is offered. It recalls gestures, words, and silences, assembling them into a narrative of what once was and what could have been preserved. Through observation and patience, absence itself becomes a mirror, reflecting the choices, oversights, and attentions that have been taken for granted. This reflection is not simple. It carries tension and discomfort, but also insight. The unspoken pull forces one to confront internal truths. Moments ignored, opportunities overlooked, emotions dismissed. In the void created by silence, clarity emerges. Regret is not imposed externally, it grows organically from internal observation. It is the realization that presence matters more in hindsight, that what once seemed trivial held quiet significance. And the mind, unhurried and unpressured, begins to see the depth of what has been lost. Yet there is also beauty in this quiet reckoning. Absence teaches subtlety, patience, and perception. It allows the human psyche to engage with emotion in its purest form, without defensiveness or distraction. Reflection here is both intimate and expansive. Intimate because it touches the hidden places of attachment and memory. Expansive because it encourages a broader understanding of value, connection, and presence. The silence is not emptiness, it is a space for the mind and heart to meet, to consider, to understand. In the end, the power of absence lies not in action or confrontation, but in the gentle shaping of awareness. The other may feel a quiet echo of what has been lost, a pull of recognition, a shadow of longing. And in that space, without words, without force, a subtle transformation occurs. Reflection becomes understanding. Regret becomes recognition, and the invisible threads of memory, desire, and attachment quietly, profoundly leave their mark,